It's Brian Ernst, Chairman of the Price County Executive Committee, calling this meeting to order. If I could have the clerk please call the roll.
Good morning. Michelle Drobnik.
Here.
Brian Ernst.
Here.
Paula Hodek.
Here.
Larry Palachuk.
Here.
And Jordan Spacek.
Here.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Item number 1 on the agenda, public comment. I see no one in the room for public comment.
Nothing here.
Do any committee members? Well, let me back up. *6 if there's anybody out there online that would like to make a comment. Nobody online looking to make a comment, so now we'll go on to communications. Any committee members have any communications they'd like to share? Okay, we have none. Item number 2, meeting minutes from April 16th, 2026. Looking for a motion. Motion to approve is presented. Motion by Palachuk. Do we have a second?
I would second it, but I wasn't there. I wasn't on the committee at that time, so Jordan?
He wasn't on it.
You weren't either. Okay, none of us. Okay, I'll second it.
No,
Second by Hodek.
sorry.
Any discussion?
I mean, I did read through it, but
Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes from April 16th, 2026, signify by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 3, treasurer's report. Renee?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we have 3 new committee members, so I thought I would just take a second and go through a little bit about what I usually present for the executive committee. Each month you will receive a financial report and a treasurer's report from me. The financial report will show the investments accounts on the top, from LGIP to our CDs that we have locally, and also PMA investments that you can see on the screen. And then our various checking account balances, and then on the bottom are loans and debt service. So if anyone has any questions about that, feel free to ask me.
I'm going to ask one,
Sure.
just because there's been comments from the general public. We've got this money earning interest.
Correct.
Maybe Nick can chime in to explain why we have money in the bank rather than, spending it and keeping the tax levy lower.
Right. So we don't have like excess amounts of funds. So the recommendation by like auditors, WCA, the GASB Association, everybody is to have a 3 months worth of your expenses available. And so at any one time we have ups and downs of that area. So at the end of the year, we end up with 36% of our total need, right? Our yearly spend in cash. So we don't have all this excess cash that's sitting around that isn't doing anything. So it's where you're supposed to manage your cash as a business is where we're right at.
So this is basically like business best practice.
Yep. We're following best practices by the state GASBs and all that.
And I've said it before, I'll give kudos to our treasurer for getting good interest rates.
Group effort. Carrie and Nick and I all
Yeah.
sit down
And there's another word that's being thrown around a lot is arbitrage. So for those who are new on the committee, what fiscal arbitrage is where if we said we're going to do a $10 million project and we went out and borrowed the money, we have 1 year to spend that money down in the sense of a certain percentage. First year, you have to spend 50%. By the second, or by 18 months, you have to spend 75, blah, blah. So what was happening when interest rates were really, really low and you could get really good interest on your money? So borrowing interest rates were low, interest rates in the banks were high. What arbitrage is if I borrowed that money at say 3%, but I put it into a high yield savings or CDs while that money's sitting there at 4%, I'm getting a 1% positive on my money. That's arbitrage. So at that point you have to pay taxes on that money and there's some other things, but we have never fallen into that. We know that cool project's coming. We borrow the money. We've never had a delay on a project where we couldn't spend the money as fast as needed for the arbitrage. So there have been a couple counties that they built a jail, they built a highway department where they borrow $50 million. That's harder to get the project up, running, and done in 1.5 years. A lot of times they go out and get the bond and still have a lot of process before they break ground. That's where arbitrage can come into play because you're not spending it as quickly. We manage it differently. We say, we know the project's coming. We get the project ready, then borrow the money. So it's in and then back out. So that's what arbitrage is for finance.
So on that note, in a nutshell, the money that we borrow, we're spending. Our
On the
our
projects,
ledgers
yep.
reflect that. We're spending that on what we borrow it for.
Correct.
Money that's earning interest is a separate ledger item, a different pot of money, so to speak.
For the most part. Now, that money that we borrow, that say we get $1 million in, it does go into a savings or a checking that does earn interest. So it's not like we get 0% interest just waiting to spend the money, but it's because the project's ready to go, we spend the money. Road projects, right? By the end of the year, you're spending that money, and actually we do it backwards, but we're not, we're money in, money out. There may be a couple months of interest where we're earning on that, but we don't do some long-term
Right.
weird borrowing.
Okay, Mr. Polachek.
Nick, for the benefit of the citizens that are listening, could you tell us on the average what it costs to feed the monster here every month?
Well, we spend on what, $34 million a year. So divide that by 12, $2 million.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if you look at the ledger that you guys sign every month, it is between the $2 to $3 million that you're signing, that it's in the blue book. So that
Right,
total,
but the sheet Renee gave us
Correct,
today
that
too
tells you too.
shows.
Yep.
For instance,
the
payroll
notes.
for April was $1.356 million.
And the only reason that payroll's so high in April, it's a 3 payroll
Three
month.
yeah. I was
So that's
gonna-
three.
I'm just using
Yeah.
that as an example.
Yep.
It's
But
all
like on
here
average,
for
payroll's
everybody to see.
800,000 a month. Really where our costs come in is programs, right? So high cost placements are $40,000 a month. The behavioral health placements, it's not, and I shouldn't even see placements, just educational programs, the foster care. But then you look at roads, that's, August, we had a $3 million check to pay for all the asphalt for the year. So it's a ebb and flow, but on average, we're about $2 million a month.
Okay, unless anybody else has comments, we can move on, Renee.
So on the flip side, you'll see the treasurer's report, which does in fact go through those general disbursements, what's payroll, what's health insurance, and any tax collection that was paid to other municipalities on the bottom. And on the top, you'll just see what county taxes we receipted, redemption amounts for delinquencies, and then general receipts would be all the interdepartmental deposits that each department brings to our office, and then we balance those out and do the deposits. The interest that we have earned, and then tax collections for those that we have a contract with to take their tax collections from the municipalities. We currently have 7 of those. 2 are multi-pay, so right now we just finished April tax collection. So any questions on those 2 reports? That's what you'll see on a monthly basis from me. Okay,
Okay, thank
We
you. We'll
will-
move on to delinquent taxes and in rem for 2022 tax year.
yeah, I think I will start kind of where Nick was just talking about the $34 million. The overall real estate that we collect overall is 34.9 million. We've already collected 27.3 million. So we only have 5.2 million in postponed, which means through July. So we're ahead of schedule this year in comparison to last year. So people are paying early their second half, and we're showing 880,000 as delinquent. So for the in rem process, the 2022 unpaid taxes, we are down to 42. I do have 2 others that are pending collection of their payments. So I haven't removed them from the list yet, but in a week I will. So down to 42 certified mail went out on May 1st, letting them all, from our attorney, letting them all know the process. The last date of redemption is July 2nd. They have until July 2nd to pay those 2022s to stop the process. Out of all those certified mailings, 3 were returned as undeliverable for bad addresses, 35 have been signed, and the phones have started to ring, so.
Go ahead, Nick.
Renee, do you want to talk? So you talked about we collect $34 million, but of that 34 million, only 12 million is actual county
county.
funds. So the
Yes.
rest gets dispersed. So do you want to talk about that
Schools,
process?
Yeah, the various taxing jurisdictions for the municipalities, the school districts, NTC. So all of that is part of the collection process.
Yeah. And so the difference, like I said, we spend 34 million. 12 million is levy
Yes,
dollars.
sorry.
The remainder of that money is state and federal and revenues. So like your park fees, your permitting or whatever, that's very, 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 very small part of it, but stumpage, but the federal and state funding is what the difference is for our spend. So they may line up those two numbers, but they're
Yes,
not,
they are not. the
they're not
same.
our number. The schools, the municipalities, and Tech College get the rest.
Yes. Any questions on any of that information?
What do you attribute the, I won't say early payment, but the, payment in full increases this year? Is it due to the bigger tax refunds possibly because of the big, beautiful bill?
Not from what people are saying. Generally speaking, the majority of them are saying, I don't want to forget the second half. I'm just going to pay it all in full. Some people do it to have it for the tax reasons before the end of the year. But the majority of them are, I just don't want to forget, and then have interest and penalty.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for the treasurer? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to Register of Deeds Office, updates. Sylvia.
All right, thank you, Brian, and welcome to the new committee members. Just give you a quick summary of the Register of Deeds. I don't normally have a written report in your packet. I just kind of come to the meeting and give you a synopsis of the month prior of how many documents we recorded, what our straight sale value is, and then our vital statistics. So if you're not familiar with the Register of Deeds, we are the central repository for all of the land records in Price County. We have land records back since Price County became established March 10th of 1879. Everything recorded in the Register of Deeds is a legal permanent document. So once that stamp goes on that document, it is a legal permanent document that can be held up in court and remains on our records forever. So that's if you buy land, sell land, mortgage land, anything to do with land records, easements is recorded in the Register of Deeds office. We also handle vital statistic records. So deaths that occur in Price County are recorded with us, not recorded as a document. We are the last step before the document is filed with the state for death certificates. We issue death certificates throughout the entire state along with birth and marriage. So we have statewide issuance. If you were born in Milwaukee, if you were born in Ashland, we can issue those records to you. So that is wonderful. And yeah, from basically in the Register of Deeds office, from birth to death, we've got you covered. So that's kind of our little slogan. So, but for April, we recorded 265 documents. That is a little bit lower than average, but when a sale goes through, it normally takes us 30 days to see the paperwork come through by the time that it gets through the realtor's office, the title companies, the attorneys that are working with it. So the realtors have indicated that business is picking up now that we've gotten through the winter months. So our office will get busier now and through probably December. And so last month, 265 documents recorded. It was approximately $6.09 million in straight sales that came through our office in conveyances. We processed 58 vital record applications and issued 242 vital records. So if you have any questions, happy to answer. And my office is always open for you to come and peek in, and happy to see you. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Sylvia. Number 5, Office of Administration. A, 2026 monthly financial reports. Should have those in your packet.
So they are in your packet. I'll share them here. April, like we kind of mentioned earlier, that is a 3 payroll month, so it does make our percentages jump up a little bit. So take that with a grain of salt. We'll catch up throughout the year. That's how it works in general, is there's always that 1 month or that one time of the year that kind of bumps everything up, but then every month behind that is a little slower. So we also see that in like places like Vet Service, where they go out and buy their bulk. They buy flags for the holiday to put on everybody's gravestones. And so that's their largest purchase of the year, and it's like half their budget. So they'll look like they're way ahead. So percentages don't really give you the perfect story, but it does help understand where we're at and what we're doing. So the first page that you receive, so we've been 33% of the year. We've collected 48.56% of the revenues that we've expected to collect, which is $5.2 million out of the budgeted $10 million for the general fund. We've already spent $3.7 million out of the $10 million, or 34%. So we're 1% ahead of where you would be as a percentage for the year. So far, no major surprises, as in like something broke and we got to fix it, or TJ had a UPS go down and those are 20 grand, which is a uninterrupted power supply on our server. So a good consistent year based on what we budget. Where we are going to see issues, and I saw a bill yesterday that IT, and this has nothing to do with our IT is great. IT costs are going through the roof. We've seen that over the last 2 years, but I saw one of our renewals for a software maintenance. It went from $36,000 to $70,000 in 1 year. And usually we're used to about a 3 to 5% increase. This is a double.
How do they justify that?
If you want the technology, and I think where a lot of this is coming from is cybersecurity. These companies have had to really bulk up and hire very, very, very smart people and put equipment in place that it's going to cost you money. What we're also seeing is everybody's going to cloud-based. So we moved our financial software to the cloud. I've been talking to Sylvia. We're looking at having backup in the cloud for the Register of Deeds. We're IT is moving to the cloud, and the reason behind that is third party has way, 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 way better cybersecurity than we could ever do. We'll keep a backup here, but we're not going to be that way. And then if something does get hit, like say the server with all your financial stuff on it, we have all the backups. They have to have multiple backups, but we didn't lose the whole county. We lost the financial software for 1 day or 2 days until we can get up and running. So it's just, I don't want to say it's the cost of doing business, but it's the cost of doing business. And you see where the counties that aren't going to through this process are down for 3 months, are down for 3 weeks, 4 weeks when they have a cyber attack. So I think that, I don't want to say it's justifiable, but I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. Even like our email address, or everybody, so every email address we pay per month to have for employees, and it used to be, I think it was 3 years ago, it was $1.40 or something. I think this year it's up to $6 a month per person. Anytime you use any program, Word, Outlook, anything like that, it's per person you pay for a subscription. We've been managing it, but this is where we talk to the state and say our operating costs are going through the roof, and you put a limit on what we can add to our levy to cover just the operating costs to do business. But we'll keep you in the loop with that. We'll see where it goes for next year's budget.
Just to back up, you said we're moving or have moved a good amount of our stuff to the cloud. We have backups here on site and off site, correct? Don't we rent space some other server?
And we can have TJ come in and do a little presentation in the future for those who are new to the IT world, but so we currently have multiple servers located in Price County. So we have a one that's on up high. So if there's a flood, we have one that's below ground. So if there's a tornado, we have one that's in a secure building that has fancy fire suppression and air conditioning, and it's a server room like you'd see on TV with all the flashing colors. We also have an offsite location that we partner with another county that they send us their data, we send us our data. We're hundreds of miles away from each other. So if a natural disaster happened, it's not going to affect both of us. We do that. So we back up, I think it's every 15 minutes for some things, like locally. Every hour you keep like stuff. Then it's every night goes to that offsite. And then, for example, our financial software goes up as we work on it. It's always being saved in the cloud. They're saving it in another location. And then every day or week, we get a file here that we keep locally. So say all their stuff went down, we could still work. We could load it back up and with the company's help and get going. If we had an issue here on campus or whatever you want to go in our building, any one of us could pick up we could go to the library and start using a computer and log into our financial software. And that's the purpose of the cloud is if there were an issue, we should be able to continue offering services and doing work as normal. It's expensive, right? Like when we to cover, like when we went to the cloud for our financial software, we had X number of servers locally, and every server you pay 15 to 20 grand a year to have service on it. When we got rid of the local server for the finance and just needed backup, we could stop paying that. So there was an additional, it wasn't that much. We actually saved money by going to the cloud because we reduced the cost locally, and we had to pay a little bit more for the yearly service contract for the product we have. So in general, some of those things save us money, which is great because then we have better cybersecurity, but IT is going to get us. It has been over the last couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah. So anything else on here? Again, nothing jumping out. The sheriff's department's on track, a little high in the jail. Some of that comes with our health. So we have to have health insurance for the inmates. So once they're in our care, they go off any insurance they have, unless it's private insurance. And then we're responsible for medical in the jail. So we have a provider for that. That goes up every year. Food contracts go up, but this year was probably one of the smaller increases we've seen. So we're in budget there, or closer to budget than normal. The next page is Health and Human Services. Probably the hardest one to predict where we're at, what we're doing, because their billing's about 2 months behind. So they've collected 48.75% of their revenues and have spent 36.7%. Yesterday at Health and Human Services, we went through some of their high cost placements. I think we have 3 individuals right now that are costing between $18,000 and $30,000 a month to be on a high cost placement, which adds up quite quickly. We're seeing an increase in behavioral health cases. We're seeing a slight decrease in children and youth, but a lot of those are just moving over to the behavioral health because that's where the classification of that situation is happening. Positive with that is the state has started giving a lot more money for behavioral health programming. So a little bit of an offset there. The next page, so page 3 is other funds. Animal control, we pay that per month to Catkins. They're our service provider for when we collect animals or pick them up. Other than that, it's the tags that go in there, so registrations, and then there's some other costs with overall animal control. Veteran service, he has 2 because there's one that's state funds and one that's our local funds. Library, that's an in and an out. So if you've been through our budget process, the libraries hand in their circulation numbers, we get a calculation. Any municipality that doesn't have a library gets charged part of that circulation cost. But that's about That go, like I said, that goes in and out. That's hovered about that 320,000 for the last couple of years. We did increase that by 10% allowable, last year, 2 years ago. It used to be 70% of circulation. It's now 80% of circulation in county and 70% out of county. So some of that money does get sent to your Rib Lake, your Medford, your Ladysmith, Eau Claire. So if you have a library, you get a library card at those places and your address is here, they can bill the citizens here to pay for part of their circulation. Our libraries do the same thing. So if you come from Butternut, so Ashland pays quite a bit to the Park Falls Library.
Just to comment on that too, the county raised our percentage from 70 to 80, but we're at the actual bottom line check is less because of circulation going down.
Yeah, so their overall funding has been about the same, even though we went up that 10%. A lot of surrounding counties are at 100%. You guys made the 5-year plan. You did 80%. We were 100 when I started 15 years ago. It went down to 70, and now we're back up to 80.
And the number 70 is mandated.
Yeah, minimum statutory requirements 70. Highway, so far spring's been good to the highway. No accidents, no major. I mean, we had some ice early on, so I know we did have a rough winter. A lot of call outs for ice, snow, which every day out there is not cheap. A lot of salt used this year. Cost of getting salt, cost of fuel is going up. The next sheet, page 4, is our cash. So at the end of last year, we had $11.7 million. At the beginning of January, we still were at the 11. So as it came in, we sent it out, whether it was disbursements for the schools. So like when Renee was talking, we collect millions of dollars, from these places, but that goes out immediately because we're collecting for those other municipalities. Our loans come in, those go right back out because we pay them and then collect them through the tax process, so that we don't pay interest. We are less cash at this time than we were last year, but we knew that was going to happen because we're starting to spend down some of our major project funding that we've been working on. So our ARPA funding, that was several $1 million, and we're finally spending that on the projects we said we were. We had some loan projects that we finally spent down. So I think this is closer to where we'll be at for a while. If you look historically, 2018, 19, 20, we were in that $6 million at the end of the year. So we're almost double, but our general spending has gone up. Sales tax, good month for February. We always are 2 months behind. So we get it in, say, this month, but it's from 2 months ago, actual activity. We had 85,000 January, and then we had 193 total in February, which February we had 107,000, which was since 2020, that's been our highest February by 20 grand. So I don't know what happened. Oh, snowmobiling, I would guess. We probably had that was when we had those big snowstorms. So extra snowmobilers that month, which always helps. One thing I think we're at a plateau for a while here, I think, with sales tax. One, gas is going up. People are spending less disposable income. People are still spending money. So even if a good costs more, this was a conversation we always had to have with the last group. So I used to spend on 10 widgets that gets taxed. And so I feel like I can buy 10 things. Well, when inflation happens, I still made the same amount of money, but I can only afford 8 things. I still got taxed on the same amount of money. So our sales tax doesn't go down because you only bought 8 widgets. It stays the exact same. What you want is no inflation. So if I could buy 10, I want to be able to buy 11. That would be you had more income to buy disposable things. So in general, I think we're closer to a plateau than we've been for a long time. Because if you look historically, we've been creeping up pretty quick, just based on what people earnings slowed down. People haven't been getting the big raises that they used to over the last 3 years. People are spending on non-taxable goods. So whether their mortgages are going higher because of interest rates, so that's non-taxable. Your gas prices, food, you're spending more on non-taxable goods. And also one of our bigger tax items that we receive is construction. So we had a lot of big construction projects going through town. And then when they're here, they also do people's parking lots, driveways, other materials. So when those projects slow down, you don't see the taxation on those big projects. So that's where I think the plateau is coming. Any questions on sales tax? Price County stumpage, as you can see, last year we ended at $1.5 million. We budgeted 1.2, so that was good. But if you look at the prior year, we only ended at 800,000 or 790, and we budgeted 1.27. So we always look at that 3 to 5 year average to see if that's what we're budgeting, because that goes into your general fund, and then it can come back out to cover that shortfall when the year is less than the budget. This year, so last year was 1.5 million, good year. This year we're still doing pretty well. We're at 453,000, but it is less than last year. But we had a good year, so we're not worried yet. We did our bids opening last month or this month, last week. So it just recently, all but one sold. So good numbers. That just means on average, we should continue at this. We don't get to raise that income or revenue, but we're not worried about all of a sudden a major dip. It may take a couple years to get it in because the mills are slowing down or had slowed down for a couple months. High cost placements. This one I think we're going to look at a little bit differently going forward, but it's a good way to just say, where are we at? What have we done in the past? But a good question came out at Health and Human Services yesterday is, well, how much of this is actual levy dollars? In the end, it's all levy dollars, because you could say the grant goes to cover all the work they do. And then when you have an out of cost placements, that's the levy portion that goes to it. But really what happens is, as we do these programs, the state says you have a cap of $1 million of grant. We put everybody's wages, we put the high cost placements. If it's under the $1 million, we covered it 100%. If it's over by 100,000, okay, we covered 90%. But if it goes over by 500,000, we only got a 66% coverage of that grant. So it's not a matching grant. It's more of a cap grant that says, here's what we have allocated for you. And that's not what this shows. This just shows last year we had 662,000 in high cost placements. This year so far we have 148,000 in those line items.
And these are literally the placements, not
Not
our
all the
workers, not the
wages,
wages,
not
just the placements.
when you pay a third party.
Yep.
With these individuals. So in general, like we had talked, the children and youth high cost placements have gone down, but our total placements between high cost placements and behavioral health has stayed the same or gone up because of where they're getting classified. Now they're becoming more behavioral health rather than just behavior issues. So behavioral health last year ended at 345,206. We did not increase the budget. So we did go over budget last year. However, we do know the state is allocating more funds for this kind of programming. So we kind of held off on jumping too high in the behavioral health area. We'll see where that ends up. But I do know we are receiving more funds for that. Last one is health insurance. We're in the black. So that's been good. We've had a very, very good first quarter for what we've put in and what we've spent out. We are positive, and we've made up last 2 years negative. So hopefully we can continue that throughout the year. I just got a report the other day from our health insurance where we last year on average we spent $8,000 at Tailored Family Clinic. This year we've spent $15,000 on average. We use a general guesstimate that for every dollar we spend at the Tailored Clinic, it saves us $3 to $5 if they would have went to a hospital or ER clinic for the same thing. So that, I think that's one of our major savers. We have a new program called Health 360. So the employee shops around their medical issue. So like if I said I needed a knee replacement, I go to Tailored, they go, yep, you need a knee replacement. Tailored then helps you find or go through a program called Health 360. It gives you, here's where you could go, here's a middle cost where you could go, and here's the low cost where you could go. Cost does not determine quality of service. In healthcare, it just means you might have a specialist that does that all day, every day, so they can, economy of scale rather than, and actually usually the cheapest has a doctor there all the time and doing these over and over. So there may be even a different quality there. So what happens is we receive, the employee receives that quote. And if they were planning on going to hospital X and it was $100,000, but they chose the low cost one, and it was $60,000, they get 25% of the savings up to $5,000. So the county saves $40,000. In this case, they would max out and get $5,000. That helps them cover the deductible, which is $7,500 for most. We do have we have a $3,500 deductible too. But you would receive that after the whole thing is done. You go through an EOB process. But it's changed the way a lot of our employees are utilizing our health. And so we've had, I think, a potential of like $80,000 or $60,000 in savings already, based on if people choose that lower cost option. Now, you might have to travel a little bit more. You might have to see a different doctor, but people are really engaged in it, and it's working really well. What we're seeing a lot of it is it's preventative, which we would have paid 100% if you went to hospital X or hospital Y, but we now save that difference. So like a colonoscopy, we've saved, $2,000 by going to a different hospital. Employee gets $500. We save 15 as a county. So it's really helped putting some of these programs in place. We've also put a health program in place, a wellness program they're called Better Health. We've had, I think, 35 engagements on that. And we've seen a reduction in our RXs. So people who were on medicines that like as their daily cholesterol medicine, their daily blood pressure medicine, are going off of those programs after going through the Better Health program. I went through that. A lot of other individuals here have gone through it. And then you get off of those maintenance meds, which are very expensive when they're monthly maintenance meds. The other thing we've put in place is Better Help. So there's Better Health and Better Help. And that's all employers are required to offer a mental health service to their employees. So we went with Better Help, which most people recognize as a program. So we're seeing a lot more engagement. When we used to have, it was just called an EAP. People were like, what the heck's this? I don't get it. So now we went with a branded product, and we're seeing a lot of engagement, which then has reduced the number of days off for employees. It's helped with their home life, stress, things like that. We've seen a engagement and a happier workforce because of it. So that again helps with your medicines, whether it's, antidepressants or anxiety medicines. We're seeing a reduction in those because of that. So health insurance, all to be said, is it's doing better than we've done in a couple of years. Any questions on health?
Okay, that ends the monthly financial report. 5B, 2025 audit update.
Yeah, so we are 2/3 of the way done with our 50% done. I don't know how you want to call it, of our audit. And what that means is we've done our pre-field work, which is done in December. We've done our field work, which was done, April, late April. And that's a week long. So there were 7 auditors here who sit and go through our ledgers to make sure we're allocating money properly. We're, putting it where it's supposed to be. The next step starts next week, the next 2 weeks, the single
Next
audit.
week.
Next week, the single audit starts. And what the single audit is they come in, they bring a team of, well, if they're not coming here, they're going to do it online this year, but they pick federal, state grants, and anyone that hits a certain threshold, they have to review that. And then they have to do a total amount. So say we had $20 million in grants, they have to do $10 million of that. So if they only have 5 million that meet a threshold of like that grant's 250,000 or more, they have to pick enough grants to meet the other half, which is the extra 5 million. So every year it's randomized. They pick random grants. They go through it one by one, or not one by one. They go through each grant and say, did you meet the requirements for reporting? Did you meet the requirements for spending? Did you properly allocate your funds? So every year this happens to us on our state and federal grants. Every year, Evan and Joe, one of them gets picked with snowmobile or ATV grants.
Both got picked this year.
They love doing this. That's why we laugh about it. But so both Evan and Joe's departments of forestry, land conservation go through the audit also. It's not just health and human services. But they pick random invoices, they pick random checks, they pick our reports, and they go through them and make sure everything's above the grant. It's a meticulous process.
Mhm.
So I say we're halfway done. So once that process is done, say that's another 25% of it. The last process is there's a whole bunch of filings we have to do through the auditors, and then they come and give us our yearly report, hopefully in that September
Yep.
area board meeting, which is kind of our report card. How did our fiscal team, how did our department heads do on following the GASB and all the rules with accounting? Also, they check, like, they look at resolutions that say, you guys approve spending on X. Did we actually spend on X? So they go through a lot of things for that. Any questions on where we're at with the 2025 audit?
Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to 5C updates. Any other items you wanted
No.
to discuss?
Trying to think. Nothing I can think of. I'll be gone starting May 31st through June 5th. We've talked about that at the board meeting. I'll be in Washington, D.C. Other than that, just, I would say business as usual. We're busy. You never know what the day is going to bring.
Any questions for the administrator before we move on? Okay, hearing none. Item 6, clerk's office.
Good.
A 2026 WCA annual business meeting resolutions. You should have that in your packet. And I'll let Meredith go ahead and take it from here.
Good morning and welcome to new committee members. Just briefly, so in the packet is the 2026 WCA annual business meeting resolutions. Deadline for submission is June 22nd at 4:30 p.m. So each year, counties have the opportunity to submit resolutions for consideration at the annual business meeting held in conjunction with the WCA annual conference. Resolutions adopted at the annual business meeting become part of the WCA platform. So I believe that if the board does have any resolutions to submit, that I can send those electronically. And those instructions are more towards the end, next page. Also, the WCA annual conference will be held from September 20th through the 22nd in Sauk County at Kalahari. So
basically what WCA is asking for is suggestions for resolutions to submit to the state legislature, and WCA will submit them on our behalf. Things to lobby for, basically.
thank you.
So let me or Meredith know if you have anything you want to forward on.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just
So-
for an example, we put in a resolution request to the WCA when we were asking for supports, or we were supporting WTA and their definition of what a small town was going to be. So that was, and it did pass. So that was, all we did was we were just supporting their resolution. So that's just an idea for anyone that didn't have any idea.
Thank you. Okay, clerk, do you have any more updates?
I have one more update. We have, let's see, so for the election coming up in November, also the primary will be August 11th. We have had 2 non-candidacy notices filed. That was the sheriff's office and the clerk of courts. And that means we've had 1 candidate turn in their papers for their declaration of candidacy, campaign finance, and nomination papers, and that was for the clerk of court's office. We've also had 1 candidate who turned in papers for coroner's office, and 2 sheriff's candidates turned in papers for the sheriff's office. So that is ongoing. And we've been doing some work on the special election for the District 5 vacancy, but I can talk about that in a little bit because that's on the agenda, so.
Okay, just to be clear, there's a primary scheduled, but if just stick with 2 candidates in any of those categories, positions, we don't have the primary?
Well, here's an example. So we have 2 sheriff's candidates running for the Republican Party, so we will have a
Oh,
primary.
because it is partisan.
Most likely, the nomination papers are still being reviewed. Both have enough to be on the ballot, but we have to make sure that there's not double signatures. So if you sign 2 papers, the same person, the first signature counts, the second is kicked. So there's 200 signatures per person, and the clerk's office, Jules and I are reviewing. So most likely there will be a primary in August, but we'll keep you posted.
Okay, thank you. Next up, item number 7, resolution. Town of Eisenstein Bridge and Culvert Aid Request, Forest Road 149 and Cedar Rapids Road. Whereas the town of Eisenstein is requesting aid for design and installation of 1 new culvert at the nearest intersection of Forest Road 149 and Cedar Rapids Road and Waterway Camp C Creek, legal description, Northwest Quarter, Section 28, Township 40, North Range 2 on the border of Section 29 and 28. And whereas you have the rest to read if you care to. Now therefore be it resolved that the Price County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the town of Eisenstein Bridge and Culvert Aid Request. Fiscal impact, $15,500, municipal tax levy, and that's estimated. Looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion by Hodak.
Vice versa.
Drobnik.
Oh, I
Dropnik
Sorry.
and Hodak.
just heard it. I wasn't looking. Motion by Drobnik. Do I have a second? Second by Hodak.
Yes.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving this signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8, review countywide financial auditor proposals. And there's 3 different companies that submitted proposals when we send out the request for proposals. And I'll let Nick give an overview real quickly.
Yeah, so some of you weren't on the committee last couple weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago. So a couple meetings ago, we approved an RFP to look at our audit firm, not necessarily a new one. So we traditionally we need to renew our auditors every couple years. For the past several renewals, we said we really enjoyed using Baker Tilly, so we're good with what they're recommending, and we're going to forego the process of the RFP. This time we said, let's look at what's out there, what the options are. So we sent out an RFP. I can't remember the exact numbers. We sent it to 8 or 10 different firms. We put it in the newspaper so that it's a RFP process. We received 3 different proposals back. And in the RFP, what we said is at this meeting today, you guys would, receive the 3 or any proposals, but the 3 that we got. And then if you would like, at the next executive committee meeting in June, each group would get 10 to 15 minutes to present so that they could introduce themselves, hopefully maybe one or two people that are on the audit crew that will be here, and kind of explain their process that they go through. There's a scale that we're in the RFP that we're rating each one of these providers on, and it's not all about how much it costs. There is a range of costs here, but that was not the largest point getter. So we have a couple different categories, and cost is in there, but it's not the number one deciding factor. And that comes down to because we've seen other counties end up looking at just the lowest, and they were not necessarily qualified to do government audits. So our highest scoring possibility is how are you well versed in the government accounting and have others that you've done this with. So we have kind of skimmed over the three. When I say we, the finance office and myself, so Carrie and myself, and just, none of them are way off base. None of them are, oh my gosh, they're excellent. They're all qualified bidders, I guess, or quotes. There is a range of costs in there. The one cost that you have to just be careful with is with Baker Tilly. They put a total cost, but then there's in fine print, there's 5% additional for the use of their software system, which is one of the benefits of them because they are a sister company or a parent company to our software. So it was very easy to say, here's our data, click done, and it went right into their system, where others, there's more of a process. Now, is it 5% of a process? Probably not, but we understand why that's there. So there is a range of costs. It's up to you as a committee if you want to invite them to do that 10 to 15 minutes to meet them and see if you click with them as a audit team that you want to do the work for Price County, and that you'd trust to give you a clean report, or a report, an honest report.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Ms. Oda.
Just a question here. Of the three, in the past, we've had at least two of them before, right? Have we not had?
Only Baker Tilly?
We never had
In my
Clifton?
15 years, we've had Baker Tilly for the last 8, we figured, 10. Prior to that, we had Whipfley, and I think we
okay.
had Whipfley for 20.
We didn't have Clifton Allen then.
Oh.
No,
Okay.
we had Whipfley, I think, for 28
I think I'm
years.
confusing it with the school.
School
okay.
had Clifton Larson.
There you go.
Allen, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and these were the 3 we predicted would.
My
Yeah.
comment would be to have them come in for a in-person presentation for 10 to no longer than 15 minutes. There is quite a price range on their proposals. I'd like to hear a little bit from them to determine if we can determine what the differences are with, you guys are the professionals, so I'm sure this committee will take your advisement seriously, but I still think they should all come in. And I don't think we need the board's motion to do this. I think we can just
Oh,
basically
It was
just,
in our.
unless somebody's got opposition to it, just instruct Nick and Carrie to go ahead and have that scheduled. Do you need it by the next board meeting, or can we wait till,
We'll do
I
it
guess the
next
one
ex-
after that would be August then?
Right, we needed a next executive meeting to make. the
Yeah, so
decision.
at the next executive meeting,
Or
we'll
I
have a
meant
blank
executive, I'm
resolution.
sorry.
We'll have a blank resolution to make a decision
Right.
because we need it chosen by that June.
Yep.
Board
Okay.
meeting. The other thing too is they all supplied references.
Yep.
They all were glowing, right? Asked around, and
Yep.
nobody was concerned with their performance.
Any other questions?
Do people really give bad references to call?
Yes.
Oh, really?
You
Oh.
Okay.
Either that or they say no comment, so that's a
Well,
flag.
You
I'm
can
sure,
tell by
like,
their, yeah.
They would tell us.
Yeah. Audit firms can, and of the 3, I know all 3 of them. I've had past history with 2 of them. And they're all very good, these that have applied. you can tell when you work with, like I work with all the other counties, like we have an administrative group, they're going to tell me if it's like, oh man, it's been heck working with these
Yep.
these people. So not only to the reference, we talk as a state.
Okay, we'll just move forward with this. If there's nothing else, we'll go on to number 9, financial policies and procedures manual updates. First, airport fuel card charge account policy. This was brought to our committee from highway. It was initiated there. You should have it in your packet. Nick, do you want to?
Sure. So this is brand new. It would be section 11, accounts receivable airport fuel card charge policy. It's the same words that the highway put together. It just put in the format of our handbook. So why it came here is you guys are in charge of our fiscal policy handbook. And what we were struggling with at highway, if you weren't part of that conversation, is we have a fuel program up there that if you own a hangar, you can get a fuel card and you receive a discount on fuel, and it's a credit card. It's an accounts receivable type thing. So for the month, you can charge your fuel to it, and then we send out a bill. You pay us, you get the discount. We're happy that you're a hangar owner and that you're flying and using our fuel. We've had some issues over the years where individuals didn't pay promptly, but there's no penalty to that failure to pay promptly. So after talking to highway, they recommended that any account that's outstanding balance beyond 45 days. So that means if I charge 1 month, on the 15th of the next month when my bill usually gets there or is sent out, if I'm 45 days past that is when the interest starts. So really you have 90 days to pay. So it's not like, oh, you didn't pay within the 45 days you charged it. That's not how it works. So it's you have a pretty long runway, pun intended, to not have to pay the interest. It's 1.5% per month or 18% annually, which is, when we talked at highways, still cheaper than if you just charged your fuel on a credit card and paid monthly payments with that annual rate. The other part of it is not only that you receive interest if you're failing to pay, if you do it multiple times in a rolling 12-month period, you lose the privilege to be on that until you come in front of the highway committee and justify why you were in that situation more than once in a 12-month period. We understand it happens, right? That's why we did 2 times, oh, I was on vacation or whatever might be the excuse. But if you do it twice, you have to come and talk to us. If anything goes over 120 days, you're cut off for additional things. So you can't get the oil there. You won't be included in the fuel program access.
So do we need a motion to approve?
Motion, go ahead, Jordan.
My understanding though is that they can still buy fuel and oil. on their
100%.
Well, yeah,
own.
they're not cut off. They just got to pay
Dime.
for it up
Yeah.
front with their own
You-
credit card.
And it does say at the bottom, account holders may still purchase fuel or oil with personal credit card.
Yeah. So we're not shutting the pump off to them.
Right.
We're shutting off the program to them. So you lose the privilege of that access. I think what I would recommend is like the motion to put this in our fiscal policy. We have one more that we're going to talk about today, and then they should probably go to the full board as
The policy
a
is
new
So we'll make a
policy.
motion for both of these after you explain
Sure.
9B.
Yeah. Motion to update the
That would-
fiscal handbook. Yeah.
I think that would be acceptable.
Any questions on the fuel one? Can always be changed if there's something we miss. And then the next one would be in our handbook, page 26 of 48. For W-9 forms, we're adding some verbiage there. So caregiver reimbursement for third-party provided costs. And that's just because we were struggling to get W-9s in order to make payments to individuals.
Right. Because that's a non-taxed. So the individuals are saying, why should I have to provide you W-9 when this is not a taxable payment to us? So we
But
Okay,
we're
well, we need to-
required to give
But
a
we're required to get a
W-9.
W-9 for everybody that we pay. So we wanted to make that change because otherwise we're going
Sure.
against our policy. We're not getting a W-9 to pay Joe over here, you know, for this third-party payment. So that's what we did.
Any questions?
Makes sense.
Okay, there's no questions. Entertain a motion to approve the financial policies and procedure manual updates for airport fuel card charge account policy and W-9 requirements.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Motion
second.
by Spacek,
I'll second.
second by Dropnik. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So at the next meeting, we'll bring a resolution to go to the board to accept the new
Okay,
book
sure.
or updated book.
Moving on, item number 10, District 5 Special Election Office Start Date. I'll turn this over to the clerk.
Thank you. So what happened was at our county board meeting on the 28th, the board filed a motion to fill District 5 with special election. So I've been working with the WEC on this. We put in your mailboxes, we have 2 notices we published with the paper. One is for the vacancy and one is for the special election. So if you want to follow along with that, that has your dates. The vacancy notice was posted in the paper on May 7th, and applicants are accepted through June 1st. So it required an end date, and we added December 31st pending board approval. So that's basically what we need to decide. What would make it, that would make it so that the special election office start date would be January 1st. And that lines up with the partisan races in November. So come to find out, the start date for special elections is completely up to the board. The only rule of thumb is 3 days after the November canvass is November 12th. So you could, that District 5 supervisor that's elected could take office, the soonest would be November 12th, because after canvass on that Monday, after the election, so the election happens, then canvassing on the Monday after. And then there's 3 days to challenge a canvass. So safely, you can specially elect and take office 3 days after, which would be November 12th. The WEC, however, recommends that we follow what we put in the notice, and that's in the vacancy notice, although we can amend it. But the vacancy notice says that the appointed supervisor for District 5 would be appointed through December 31st. So basically what we're looking for is a recommendation to the county board for the vacancy appointment end date and office start date. And yeah, so any thoughts on that?
Well, I'll start out. I think the way we posted it will work. We'll have an appointed person in that position until the end of the year that way. And the newly elected person could be the same person, could be somebody different. We'll start January 1st. December is usually pretty quiet anyway. If I remember right, there's no board meetings usually in December. So it'd be a clean start January 1st, unless somebody has objection to that. I propose we go with as posted,
I agree.
but I can't make that motion unless I relinquish chairmanship temporarily.
So you're stating that you're going to appoint someone in June-ish?
Well,
and
yeah,
then-
they've got,
And then they still need to run
Yep.
in November.
correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure I'm understanding that clearly.
And the board needs to approve the appointment in June. So
Yes.
Brian will recommend an appointment.
Yep.
The board has to pass that by 7 votes or more.
Okay.
And then, like you said, anybody can take out papers to run in
And-
November.
Sure. Okay.
Just for your information, I've had 4 inquiries. 2 have committed saying they want to be appointed. I haven't heard from the other 2.
Okay.
So there's interest out there.
Okay. I think that makes clear sense then to bring a nomination in June and then they can run again in November.
You want to make that a motion?
Sure.
Second,
Yep.
go ahead.
Okay, so just to clarify, do you also have an end date for that appointment? Do you recommend, like Brian was saying, the appointment ends December 31st?
Yes.
An office
Yep.
date? Okay,
Yes, yep.
perfect.
Okay, the motion was made by Spacek and second by Polachek. You want to go ahead and read the verbiage back?
Sure.
And then this will go to the full board.
Correct.
We kind of got ahead of ourselves with the postings.
Yeah.
But we wanted District 5 to get represented as soon as possible.
If you're going to go ahead.
Okay, so motion Spacek, second by Polachek to recommend the appointment end date for the special election for District 5, December 31st, 2026, and the special election office start date, January 1st, 2027.
Any further discussion?
I was just going to say, I was in that position as well, and I know I mentioned that before, but I just want to clarify. When I was appointed for this seat, it was in August, and I had to run then in April, and which was off the season from everything. And I liked that. I thought that was really good because although we can make that decision, to me, it was just very important that that district had a say of who they wanted to have running. So I totally agree with this.
Very good. Any other comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll move on. Carbon credit project update. I haven't heard anything, but I'm going to relinquish this to the administrator, see if
Same.
he's heard anything.
Joe and I have not heard anything.
So our credits are out there, but we don't know the status of.
Correct.
they've been
Yeah.
sold or not.
Besides that, what was the last update where we know we were part of a request for proposal to sell, or to buy. They would have been a buyer.
Okay. Any other comments regarding carbon credits? Moving on, Buck Tussle update. Well, I'm just going to say we haven't heard from them as far as specific dates or commitment to build on any specific locations. It's been way more than 60 days. We haven't communicated it to them yet, but my feeling is we should tell them we're going to start looking into what it's going to take to back out of this bond agreement we have with them. But I wanted to bring it up here first to see if there's any opposition to that or if there's a different direction you think we should go. But I've tentatively told the administrator to start looking into what we can do to get out of this before the money gets spent. Because we need to get going on our EMS system. Mr. Polachek.
I totally agree with that. We were led to believe that they were going to get started when we signed on within a 12 to 18 month period, and we're well past that. I think we need to move on our own. It's time.
Yep.
If it has to take borrowed money, that's just what we're going to have to do to get our emergency equipment back up to where it should be. Thank you.
Any other comments?
So no comment? Nothing has come back since they walked out
Well,
the
we've
door?
asked them and they keep, basically, we're hearing the same thing we heard from that presentation from
Okay.
Yeah.
gentleman from Buck
They'll get back
Tussle,
to us, they'll
that
get
they're
back to
still
us.
negotiating with like AT&T or Verizon, whoever they're negotiating with to hang, to rent space on their towers.
No, I totally agree with Larry and you.
And just one thing to clarify with what Larry said, like we were going to have to borrow money to update our radio system anyways. It's just going to cost us it's going to be a different
We still
cost
have to buy the
because-
equipment. We just
Right,
will have to find a way to pay for the towers to hang it on.
Yeah,
basically.
well, and we might just use the current tower. So two separate updates, but the RFP for the radio project is going to go in the paper next week. We finalized what the RFP was. That's who will really assist us on 3 towers, or we have to go build a tower. We got to rent a tower. Brian and I were talking on different subject why he called me this morning, but we also were talking about, is there a way to do mobile repeaters? So, all of our plow trucks have a repeater in it. And so when the plow trucks are out, we'll have great radio coverage, or when squad cars are out, we'll have great radio coverage. Like, is there a new technology that we can participate in? That's what this third party will help us
That's why
determine.
we're hiring them.
Correct. What is our options? Like Brian said, there's been really no movement. We did get one email, which I forwarded to Brian, that just said, we're still working with the 2 companies. They have a deadline of the end of this month to tell them whether or not they want to be on these towers. This map came from after our last meeting, just our general locations, which is kind of what we talked about. Don't pay attention necessarily to the green. That's what Motorola, that would be like a cell phone coverage. And you can see where, like, even this BTP Musser Lake one, the reason there's odd coverage out here is whether there's a hill or whether it's the way the land lays, right? So our radio system would not have this same coverage. When we took this map and worked with Motorola, who we've been working on, if we were to use these same towers, the product we put on has a different wavelength and coverage, and our antennas on our cars and our radios are much different than a cell phone, the small cell phone. So we did talk about how this bottom right corner would be an issue no matter what we did, but like this area up here by the Musser one, we would have better radio coverage than what's shown here on cell phone coverage.
No, it's good information, but we're kind of strained from the agenda, but it
Yeah.
will be discussed more at law enforcement, I'm sure. And eventually this committee too, when it comes to paying the bill.
Yeah. So what I would plan on doing based on the conversation Brian and I had was start working on let's end this, what look like, do we just have to write a resolution? Do we have to, what's the process? What's it look like? Who do we need to be talking to? So it's not an overnight, like, turn the switch off. There's a process here.
I'm sure there is.
And
yeah.
they know they're not spending funds like, they're not ordering product right now. We know that.
Yeah, because, well, they can order it, but we're not going to approve payment. So,
Because we haven't reviewed a project is how I
Right.
would look at it. Yep.
any further discussion? Okay, we'll move on with that. Item 13, monthly vouchers. They've been around. First I'll look for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Drobnik,
Second.
second by Polachek. Any discussion? All quiet. All those in favor of approving the voucher signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that takes care of that. Next meeting will be June 11th, 2026. Pretty sure we'll have one. If there's nothing else, anybody else have anything they want to comment on or would like to see on a future agenda or anything? Okay, I will hereby adjourn the meeting. Thank you.